Yo, what's going on, guys? This is the Anime Association. We are back here with another discussion video. Today is Fire Force Season 3, Episode 10. I am your host, Anime Addict, joined by my co-host, Silva. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, my brother. How about you today?
Doing really good. So this episode, I kind of have 50-50 feelings on it, but first I want to get your thoughts on the episode as a whole.
Oh, you know what's so funny, dude? It was a good episode, but coming from the two prior episodes, this definitely gave some slightly filler aspects, especially when they brought in I'm forgetting the mole's name. Is it what was his the mole? Do
I
you
just
remember
call
what
him the
the
mole.
Okay, yeah, so the
Yeah.
mole, his story and like the way that it meandered so long, I'm like, bro, like this, we're already in the gas. Like we need straight pedal to the metal. Do not take me on this long-winded journey with you in this around. But yes, I think that we got a lot of great information, especially like it's funny because you had told me about Shoy and Shinra coming together, and like they start the show out with pretty much like your prediction coming to fruition. So I don't know if you're reading the manga or not, and you're giving me spoilers. But if you're not, dude, you're calling it really, really clean, dude. I like the episode, but you're right. It was definitely a great exposure to some things. But then it was like, come on, dude, you can do better than this, especially at episode 10.
Yeah, so I don't read any mangas, but with Fire Force, I love to deep dive into the lore and the story and everything that's happening, right? So that's why I can kind of predict, like, in this case, Sho and Shinra, like them coming back together, and I see them fighting the evangelists in the end. But so other than that, like, I say 50-50, right? My my disgrievance with that is basically the mole story, everything. I felt it dragged way too long. There was kind of no point to it, if I'm being honest. They were just
Hmm.
like, "Why are you here?" And he was not telling them why they were here, why he was there. So that was one thing. But I loved everything with Show and no, we're getting with him. I loved everything with Sister Sumire, bro. Like her character is
Yes.
like insane because you would not
I have a
expect an
question
old
for
lady.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, no, no. I'm sorry. I was mixing Sumire with Humora. So no, go back to Sumire and tell me what you were talking about with the nun.
Yeah, yeah, like, you would not expect an old lady to be, like, that strong, but, like, us finding out that she was one of the original pillars makes sense, right? So, like, in the ritual situation, towards the end of the episode, she's, like, in the middle of it. She is, like, basically the front point, I guess, 2nd front point behind, the Crown Girl, right? Because I feel like the Crown Girl is the main one where the, evangelist is kind of trying to live through her in a way. Um, I guess they haven't fully explained it yet, so I guess I shouldn't go too deep into that. But everything with Sister Sumire, she basically like used her powers to summon the first pillar to come up, and then everything with that is just like the start of the Great Cataclysm. I feel like part one is going to end in a way to where like we see this giant threat, and then season two is when it gets all resolved. What are your thoughts on that?
You're saying like core two is like where we're gonna get some resolutions to what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you can tell because if they're only gonna give us 12 episodes, like I don't know how much more they can fit in the next two. And that's I guess why they did that whole thing with the mole, because I think it's pacing. And they probably have to fit a certain amount of information within the next three episodes. And they needed to fill up this episode, but it definitely left a bad taste in my mouth. And I felt just like Arthur. Like I obviously Arthur kicked him for a different reason, but it was just like, bruh, get to the point. Like, why are you talking so much? Like, I need to hear the actual information. And I wanted to ask you, I think the girl who wears the crown around her eyes is named Sumera, or something like that, somewhere around those lines.
Sumere's the old lady.
Okay, so Himare, it's like it's hold on, Ag
Haumea, Haumea.
Halmea, yes, there you go,
Yeah,
Halmea.
yeah.
So there's a scene where essentially right before they start the match, he has all these voices like impending on her. And is that how she like I'm asking you because it seems like you have a better understanding. Is that how she lives her life all the time? Is that like pretty much like she's just going through that pain and suffering at all times?
Okay, so, like, during my reaction, I had no idea, but now that you mention it, I kinda have an idea. So, you remember, like, the beginning of the season where she, like, was reading Burns' thoughts?
Yes, yes.
I feel like that is everybody's thoughts, like, in the world, and she so I feel like that aspect of it is like she can't control it, and that's why it's like too much for her because she was like gritting her teeth. Um, so I just feel like everybody's
Mm.
voices are like in her head, and she cannot control it, and she doesn't know who's saying what. She doesn't know why they're saying it, but because she hears that, she's always in pain, and that's why she's wearing the crown to kind of like because like
To,
we've never
to
seen her
dim
eyes
it.
before. Yeah, we've never
Mm.
seen her eyes before, and I feel like there's some kind of like something going on with that, and especially if there's a case where the evangelist or the god soul is trying to like live through her. There's definitely something, behind the scenes with that.
Have you ever seen the show Legion, which is about Professor X's son?
No.
So long story short, like Professor X's son has like the ability to like he has multiple abilities, but one of them is like, I think he can just hear everybody's voices. So I guess that's why I was like, oh, that's very similar because you're like so powerful, but at the same time you can't like pinpoint what exactly you're hearing, and that would suck for sure. Um, I think that maybe that crown is a conduit of some sort. Like maybe that's something that helps the evangelist speak through her. I did look up a photo of her without the crown, and it looks like nothing's crazy going on. Like so, I was thinking maybe there was something like Captain Burns. You remember how we found when that came off. There was like an emptiness. So I was wondering maybe her eyes were like that, but it doesn't seem like she had anything weird with her eyes. So it's going to
Mhm.
be interesting to see how that plays out and what that crown really is doing. That's what I'm really interested in. Like, what is that crown? Like, what is the purpose of it? But this episode was crazy because, like, in your reaction video I was watching, and like, you get to that pillar point, and you're just like, what? Like it's a literal pillar, and like, what do you think that that is? Is that setting the stage for the cat? Like, what is that pillar? Is that like an altar? Like, what is that to you?
Yeah, I'm assuming that like once all eight are brought up, they're all gonna connect, and that's where the evangelist would basically be resurrected at, and then try to destroy the world. But as we saw as well, there's like a giant kaiju that appeared, and something like that I would not expect in Fire Force. Because like we've seen demon infernals, we've seen doppelgangers and stuff like that. We've seen hellhounds, things like that, but we've never seen like a kaiju. And my you know guess is that it has something to do with the Great Cataclysm, and maybe it was something that was there 250 years ago when Sister Sumire tried to, um, begin the Great Cataclysm back then, or if this is just
Mhm.
something brand new. What are your thoughts on that?
You missed the kaiju. See, this is the problem I have with watching sub. It's like sometimes I'm reading things and I miss, and I don't remember seeing the kaiju there. But if if you're telling me that they added some kind of Godzilla aspect to this,
It's
because it's
basically
like,
like it's like in the preview part that they show.
okay, so I might have missed that. The bigger question here is like, how do they combat that? Like, they never showed us anything large. Like I'm guessing Benny Morrow has to step in because it's like when I think about firepower, right? Shinra clearly has a lot of that, but like he has to dig so deep, you know. So it's like the only person I can think of who can come out and like stop a monster is like Benny Maru. Captain Burns is dead, so like yeah, it's all up to him. I That's interesting. Now I have to rewatch the show because I missed that part. This show has, I'll be honest with you, the way it started, like if you were to show me episode one to episode 10, and it was funny, I did it, I was talking about like all the animes I'm watching. I watched a video that I did 6 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, Fire Force is okay. It has made a 180 for me because I felt like it was a slow start, and like them going to save Captain Obi and all that stuff, it felt like okay. And I think me, you, and Tim had been talking, and one of us had said that we thought it was going to stay at the church or stay at the wherever they had Captain Obi. And no, they are moving forward. They're trudging ahead, and they're giving us a lot of plot. I thought that we'd be fighting the evangelist for a little bit longer, but they moved the story quickly, a lot quicker than I thought they would. And I'm kind of happy with where we're at, but I am interested, like you said, in seeing how they're going to close up this core because they're opening a lot, you know? And for me, sometimes it's like, well, we need to start closing some things. Just give us a little bit of closure on some aspects before we have to wait. How long are we gonna be waiting for for core
Six
two?
months. 6 months.
Yeah, so I mean, I need some closure on some things, and all I'm seeing is more and more openings, like the Shoy thing, the pillars. Now you're saying this kaiju. It's like more questions than actual answers for me.
Yeah, I definitely think that this part one, core one, whatever you want to call it, is going to end on a nasty cliffhanger. Because I just feel like another reason is I've seen a lot of people hate on this season of Fire Force, and I feel like for one, they're saving all the big moments and everything for the second part. But the reason I think that this part's going to end on a big cliffhanger is because of all those people that aren't liking it. They're going to want to come back and see what's going to happen in part two with all the big moments, all the big fights, to see how Fire Force ends, because part two is the very end of Fire Force. Um, and leads into something else that some people know, but I won't say in case some people don't. But I just feel like in my opinion, I agree with you. This part has been getting better and better as it goes, especially with all the lore and everything that we've gotten. But like part two, that's when all the big moments are going to happen. We're going to see some giant developments with Shinra and Arthur and basically just all everyone in the eighth. But I just feel like part two is going to be when like all those moments happen. But another thing from this, we saw Captain Obi earlier in the day. He had met up with the captains from the second and the fourth,
Yes,
and
yes.
with this, he gets the seconds help like in private in a way. Like they're not going to necessarily be out in the forefront of the help here, but like the fourth is 100% backing up the
Yeah.
eighth, and they will be by their side. So, what are your thoughts or predictions for everything that's involving that?
So it was confusing to me at first because like when he met up with the one captain at the bar, and it's just like, what exactly are you asking of them? You know? And it's like I kind of understood why the first guy was like, yo, I'll help you from the back, but like there's only so much we can do because you don't want to be a traitor. And then like you don't want the eyes to be on you because then how much help can you be if you're also being watched? But I wasn't surprised to hear that Pan, I think it was. The other was it Pan? I forget what the captain's name, but the other captain was just ready. He was like, "Yo, y'all, I'm riding for y'all. Like, I'm not making the mistake. You tried to save humanity twice, and I'm guaranteeing that the third time that they try to lock you up was the same situation. So like, I'm going to bat for you, and it made me feel good. Now, when he blew the whistle, I thought he was Dad thought he was snitching on him, so that was a really funny moment because I'm like, damn, bro. But he's like, yo, we don't hide. Like, we out here. Like, we don't hide. I'm sorry, I forgot. But that was a great moment. I have a question for you, LJ. I've been seeing some things about people saying that they don't like this season. And like, I can't ever, I'm not seeing exactly what they don't like. What is it that you think that these people expected, one, and why do they not like this season? Because feel like beyond episode one, they've been kind of moving forward and not really looking back. Like one was a little bit of a filler, but since one, it's been hot exposition and everything. So what are you hearing that people don't like about this season so far?
Yeah, so number one, our friend Destiny Brushes, um, he is very not liking this season. And for him, it's a lot of the writing. He doesn't like how this is going with the writing. He feels like when there's a big moment, it's not told at the right moment, if that makes sense. So basically it's like we're getting all these moments of like comedic moments and all these different things, but then when like the serious threats happen, he feels like it wasn't built up well enough to be a serious threat. I can kind of see where he's coming from. I feel like, in my opinion, the writing isn't as bad as he's saying. I feel like with all the lore that we're getting and the story being told, we're getting a lot of good writing. But I can kind of understand his sentiments. Another one, shout out to GHM podcast. They're a pretty big podcast. They had a video a couple days ago where they were like basically, now they only covered like the first, I think, like 4 episodes or so, where they were talking about like how slow the beginning of the season was, how we got the fan service with Tamaki and everything like that. But they were basically saying the same things about how like this season isn't as good as they expected it to be. Now I think if you only look at the first 4 episodes, I could agree. But if you look at everything past that, I disagree because ever since episode 5 with Arthur and Dragon's fight, everything has just picked up like crazy. And then especially episode 6, which I still say is the best episode of Fire Force yet, with all the ramifications that we got from the Shinra and Burns fight. It wasn't even just like the animation or just the fight itself. It was like everything that came after it.
Hmm.
That was what made it for me, like,
That
to
was a
be the
turning
best.
point, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% turning point and everything with the devil balloon thing that came out of Shinra. Like, we still don't know what,
Hmm.
like, what that was, and I feel like we're gonna get the answers in part 2, but, to answer your question, I just feel like a lot of people don't like the writing and some people don't like basically how they hyped it up before the season started, and it didn't live up to their expectations.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I do feel like this is kind of how Fire Force has always been. So maybe it's the fact that maybe there's been some hype around this season, but like for us to expect Fire Force to be, Attack on Titan-esque or some kind of riveting, um, theme push, which it is that, and it's given us that in the way that Fire Force has. And it's like sometimes it makes me wonder if people watch Soul Eater and know what this mangaka like how he writes and like how he portrays things. Like, this is what he does. He likes his fan service. He likes the quirkiness. He never likes to take things too serious. And to be honest, Fire Force is more serious than Soul Eater ever was. So I understand where people are coming from, but I think that we have to stop putting like we have to understand what a show is. And like if a shonen is a shonen, we shouldn't compare it to a seinen. And like I think that people go from watching really deep shows to watching Fire Force and hoping that they're gonna get something different from it when it's like, no, you're getting what Fire Force brings, but I disagree with those guys. I mean, I love Destiny's content, and I don't know about the other podcasts, but I have to check them out. But I would have to disagree, and I think that this season has kind of followed suit the way that Fire Force has in the past. And if anything, I think from six beyond, they've been just giving us like I am waiting with bated breath since that Shinra fight, what's happening next? And then it's funny because I don't watch the show until after I see your reactions. So it's like I'm already like, all right, when is this happening? Oh, this, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm hyped. The Fire Force and Lazarus. Those are the two shows that every week I am ready to see. So it's just so interesting to hear that people are just not enjoying it that much. But I think it's because they're juxtapositioning, shows that are a little bit more like thought provoking and a little bit more plot heavy when it's like, dude, they're giving us that and then some with this season. For me.
Yeah, I agree 100% because in my opinion, Fire Force is the best anime this season. I know a lot of people might say like To Be Hero X or something like that, which I do understand like the storytelling at times is, but like I feel just everything with Fire Force and the lore and everything with that it's just getting so good. And I also have a little bit of bias with Fire Force because I love the first two seasons and I'm just really excited for part 2. But to wrap things up, do you have any predictions for next week's episode or even how part 1 will end?
So you know what's so funny? I think that Shoy and Shinra get together at episode 12. I think that that's going to be one of the cliffhangers. It's going to be like, Shoy has his sword out, Shinra's like that's his fingers out, and then like we think they're going to fight, but in truth, it's like a loving embrace in episode one, core two. Um, also think that you know what? Next week, I think we're gonna see more of Iris. They've been hinting a lot about Iris's powers and like how she's kind of changing ever since she became a pillar. Like little hints. Like she seems to be a little bit more um, like her and Shinra having like a little talk when Hibana was kind of like making her play at him. And like typically Iris doesn't say anything, but she was like getting in the mix. So I think that her character is kind of gonna be coming more to the forefront and we're gonna see a little bit more of Iris. So I think my prediction is like for the next couple of episodes, Iris is going to get a little bit more shine, and we're going to see a little bit more of her. And I hope so because she seems to be a very important part to the way that this show is going to start to make a turn. What about you?
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I feel like Iris's importance to the show and everything because as we saw with with Dragon's attack when he tried to attack Maki, they flashed Iris stopping the attack. And we know that there
Hmm.
has something to do with the Adola because of season 2 when Shinra had an Adola link, Iris was in there. So there's definitely
Hmm.
something going on with that. I do agree that Iris is going to be in the forefront. I'm actually going to say they're going to hold it off for part two. I feel like part one they end the fight with the kaiju, and then I do think that what you were saying with Sho and Shinra reuniting to end part one, I could definitely see that happening as well. But you guys let us know down in the comment section your thoughts, your predictions. Are you enjoying this season of Fire Force? Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, and we will catch you guys in the next video.
Peace.